We were minutes
from the whole trailer probably blowing up with my lovely propane line right there.
The whole thing.
See that propane line right above the tire? It's that black and white line. Yep, that's it.
Take an adventure with us. Take an adventure with us. Life's not a drag, let the cat out the bag. No time to worry or fuss.
So we have a serious problem here. We're not quite sure what it is, but I think we're losing the tire. If you look here, the tire is actually sitting at an angle. I think it's like coming off, like it's loosened somehow. And we know this because we were getting a high reading from our TPMS that was showing high temperature. So we pulled over to see what was going on, and this is what we came across. So we've definitely got a problem. Oh, we've got serious wear on that back tread. So this has been a problem that we were not aware of. And we've stopped on the side of the road, and I think we may be done driving for a while. Hi, I'm Brian.
I'm Michelle.
We are cruising with the Colemans, and we are stopped at what's turning into the most expensive rest stop ever.
So, yes, okay. This is the first time I think I've ever said, grab the GoPro. Because
we've been told that when something goes wrong, grab the GoPro.
So,
because you will enjoy our misfortune and misery right now.
Okay, it's been we've been here for almost 2 hours already. We have a tire minder system. We will link it here. Thank goodness for the tire minder.
Honestly, it probably saved our day.
It said it was 144 degrees, and I think I captured it at like 130 something. So the highest I saw was 144. PSI.
The other tires were all running like right 90 degrees.
Yeah. So about just a little bit above, which, you know, about normal. And I said, man, this is not right. 144 degrees. There's no alarm going off. But something isn't right.
The pressure on the tires were all around 70 to 75.
The tire pressures were all about 72. So 65 PSI is what we are cold. And they were about 72.
Which is normal for a driving day.
Yeah, this was 75. So it was a little bit higher.
But the temperature. So we came to a rest stop, and we saw a rest area. So we pulled off at the rest area. I got out.
First of all, it was on the passenger side, so I got out and immediately had a meltdown because
she sees smoke coming from the tire. I got out on the driver's side and immediately smelled said smoke and went, we got a bigger problem.
Yeah.
So we had already pulled out we have one of those little temperature heat guns. So I pulled that out, and Michelle doesn't even know this. So look at the camera, Michelle. So the pressure read, she was reading on the TPMS 140 degrees. 144 degrees. When I shot the actual hub, it was at 480 degrees, which is not a good thing. And the tire itself was reading, I think, closer to 200. So that was a problem. So we called AAA immediately because we knew it's going to take a while to get AAA out here. So let's at least get on their list to get someone here. Because that first moment we thought it's just a tire. So while I'm checking things out, Michelle's calling AAA and getting that started. I very quickly realized that it was not just a tire. Because the tire, which should be like this, was kind of like that. Maybe a 15-degree angle.
We'll insert a picture.
So that told me that there was definitely a problem. So
well, and while you were on the phone with AAA, I made friends because
another RV pulled over just because it's a rest stop and there's a bathroom here.
Right. Thank goodness there was a rest stop. And I asked them, like, do you guys know anything about tires? And he said, I don't know if we can help, but he got under there right away and said, you definitely have more than a tire problem.
I knew, but I just didn't know what the problem.
He said,
I'm smart enough to be dangerous.
You are missing a wheel bearing and the brakes are shot. Brakes are shot, wheel bearing gone.
And we have 1 bar of coverage. So we've got
cell phone coverage.
So we've made a lot of phone calls. A couple of friends from
Fortunately-
home, thanks Mike and Joni,
Yeah, those who glamp together
are making phone calls from home for
Joni-
us.
Joni got on she's on a computer, which means she has better Wi-Fi than I do, and made some phone calls. And she's actually the one that found the person who I think is going to be helpful. But before we get to being helpful, I just want to say like how many people have just tried to help. The gentleman who's working
An
here,
attendant here at the rest stop.
yeah, asked if we were having a problem, and I told him what the problem was, and he told us that he's seen a particular company come out, and so Brian called that
It was
company.
a boat company,
Yeah, and
and he said that he could really only deal with boat trailers.
but he did offer.
But he said, as soon as I finish my lunch, I'll come out and see if I can give you any assistance. So he drove over and said, yeah, I can't help you. You're just, the trailer's too big for what he was thinking we could pull the tire off
Yeah.
and go on 3 wheels to get to a service
Somewhere.
center somewhere. But then he said that was not going to work because we were just too big,
Right.
which I suspected.
But
Nope.
yep.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
your help.
Said it. Welcome to me.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
That was somebody else who was trying to help us. But the boat repair, I just want to say real quick, offered to let us stay there. Like we
Yeah,
could
they
just
said-
drive a half a mile back.
If you can get a half mile to my boat yard, he said you can park there, and he said we can get you hooked up to water and
Sewer,
electric.
or water and electric, yeah.
And if you need to be there for a couple of days. So we may be taking them up on that.
It looks like in about 2 hours, so probably around 3 o'clock today, we're going to have the place that Joni got a hold of. They're going to be able to come out here, and it sounds like he might be able to solve our problem.
So the hope is just going to be that he can fix us.
Yeah.
Well, 1, that he can fix us on the side of the road, and 2, that he has the parts to fix us on the side of the road. So that's
where we're
part
at.
1.
Apparently we need brakes, wheel bearing. There's the tire. Let me get that.
Well, he pulled the second tire off just to check it, and he said everything with it looks okay. So for whatever reason, we had one problem on one wheel. So here is the update as to what's going on. We have got, I don't know his first name.
Okay.
Doug. We got, no, I don't think it's Doug. We've got East Coast Recovery and Road Service here.
Okay, he's the best.
He's awesome.
So kind. Told us an hour and a half
Was here in
to
45
2
minutes.
hours. Was here in less than that. I am so happy with him. And he actually, I said to him, I'm going to be like a patient who asks the doctor too many questions, because I am a teacher and I always have too many questions. But he's been really kind and like, whatever you need to know, and walk me through it.
He took the tire off, and as he was going to the wheel bearing, basically the brake drum disintegrated in his hands.
Here's a quick
At the
video
hub.
of what that looked like.
So that kind of all just disintegrated, so we had to find a whole new brake drum.
Which is when I said to him, so what's a wheel bearing supposed to look like?
So this is the old brake drum. You can see that it got so hot that it actually misshaped the drum. All of this melted. The brake pads were completely gone. This is all that's left of the wheel bearings. Here's, you can see a new bearing set compared to what we have left. Everything else just disintegrated and fell out the end and disappeared. And here's where the outside of the drum shattered again from the heat. When they went to take it off, everything just crumbled out. And here's what a brand new one would look like. Pad right here. Same assembly.
Ours aren't.
He got that off. He took the other tire off
Somebody's
just to make sure. He took the other tire off on the passenger side to make sure that it was okay. It looks okay. couldn't find the specs for the part at first when he was doing the hunt. Called around to several repair parts shops, found the part. So we have a part. Yay.
Do we have a part for one tire?
We have a part for one tire, but that's all we have a problem with as far as we know. So we have a part for one tire. His girlfriend is getting off work and is going to pick up the part and bring it here.
Aww.
He has to run home to get some additional tools because they're not in this truck because he wasn't actually out on service today. Somebody else has the truck with all the tools in it. So he's running home to get more tools to do the replacement. He'll be back in about a half hour.
I have gifts for this man.
She's going to be here in about a half hour.
I don't know what yet.
And it's all going on. I can get my Cruisin with Colemans sticker.
Nope, I got something. There's something in here. I know it.
Okay, so he's going to be here in about a half hour. Everybody's going to be here with parts converging and should get everything put back together.
Okay, so meanwhile, I was calling Poor Farmers RV Repair, which will put their website below.
Awesome repair shop if you are in
the
Western Central Ohio.
So we called them when we needed help in the fall, and they repacked our wheel bearings, checked our tires. They told us about a problem we were having with one tire. We got that fixed and did a couple other, they put in your gas line.
They put in my gas line.
We'll link that video to installing the propane line and just a couple other things. And so I called them, I think, just to say, you know my RV.
Well, and we wanted to check because we knew we had a tire problem in the fall.
Yeah.
On the other side, on the driver's side, is this related? And we just wanted to get some confirmation as to, okay, this is what we had happen. Is this the same situation happening now here?
One of the things Poor Farmers said, which I just really appreciate, is he said, you know, you could pull out of here and have repacked the wheel bearings and everything's great, and like 100 miles down the road, something awful could happen because you hit a pothole. He said sometimes just things like that happen. Typically, depending on how much you're running, where you're running, if you're out west or whatever, you're looking at 5,000 to 12,000 miles.
On the life of your bearings before you need to have them repacked again.
And they're on my list. I have a list of things for Poor Farmers to do when we get back in August, but I obviously wasn't looking to get this done while we were traveling.
So our plan was to have the wheel bearings repacked when we got home from this trip, which would have been about 7,000-ish miles of wear on the tires.
Right. We had them done in November, and so the goal is just to kind of, I was kind of hoping to get fall camping done and then have it done in November again, but obviously we got to see where we're at with this. But
okay, maybe I'll be repacked by the end of the day today.
Well, I still have a list for Poor Farmers, so don't you worry. I'm calling you still. So I got some things on my list. I feel calmer, one, because we've had friends to call and vent. We had our RV shop.
If you're not happy with your RV repair shop,
it's like a doctor.
Dump them.
Yes.
Find someone that you're happy with, because guess what? There's a lot of them out there. And we hear people talk about some of the big names, but if you're with a big RV dealership, whether it's a chain that's national or at least local to your area chain, we have one where we purchased this RV that we don't use.
Go back to.
And it's not that we got bad work done, it's just that they're not as responsive. Just like when I go to my doctor, I like being able to ask questions, I like having a relationship with them.
Yes.
And the fact that we're 2,000 miles away, but we called our dealer or our service department and they could answer questions for us.
They knew us.
Here, side rant. One of the things that Michelle likes about Poor Farmers and other places is that as a woman, she can talk to the service department and they don't make her feel stupid. But I will take it a step further and say that as a man, a lot of times people would expect that I know what I'm doing with that kind of stuff.
Especially wheel bearings. People talk about it like it's...
Poor Farmers, they'll talk to me and not make me feel stupid when I ask those kinds of questions.
Yeah. So we're 3 hours here so far. We probably have about another hour and a half
to hour and a half before we're back on the road.
Maybe we'll get to Bar Harbor tonight.
We may get lobster for dinner yet tonight.
So I'm trying to call some places to look at our other tire that we might have a problem with. I'm trying to find, yes, the pounding that's going on is on the RV. I'm trying to have someone, see if they can fix the other tire, look at the other wheel bearings, look at the brakes. And Brian just walked in and said, hold on before you're calling anybody, because it looks like the axle might be bent. And then we have a whole nother problem. So I have, right now, I think hit bottom. I have 3 people banging on the axle. Brian says it's definitely bent. He's standing over it, I think, trying to hold it together. Like that. When Brian gets really calm, things get scary, because normally he's pretty lighthearted. And then the very kind gentleman who works at the rest stop is also supervising. So I'm sitting in the car because there's air conditioning, trying to make as many phone calls as possible. The first phone call I made, the guy said 3 weeks for an axle. We're in Maine. School starts in 3 weeks. Like, we have to get home. So obviously, practical, we can get home. We just can't take that baby right there with us. I don't even know if we're gonna be able to limp along, and I don't even know where we would limp at this point. So, that's all I know. That's where we're at. I have never felt so vulnerable. I have empathized for people who are this vulnerable. I have cried with people who are at this vulnerable stage. But I've never felt this vulnerable myself. It's a pretty rough feeling. I know that there's food like not that far away, but boy, the thought of unhooking the truck and leaving the trailer, that scares me. I just can't imagine. Now one of the guys stopped banging and he's making more phone calls. They're making phone calls. People are being kind. I know that Joni and Mike are back home on their computers making phone calls, which I appreciate so much. Because, on top of all that, I have 1 bar of service and sometimes I have no service. So we do have our Verizon Wi-Fi, so we at least have a second option. But I have hit bottom. Here comes Brian. Let's see what he has to say. So Brian,
Yes.
I kind of commiserated and cried just now on the phone. You want to tell us about what's going on? Use good words, because you're going to be on YouTube with this.
So they are working on removing, well, first of all, Doug, who's the guy that owns the company,
Oh,
the
okay.
first guy, is working on getting a new axle right now.
But at the place I called said 3 weeks.
Yeah, Doug thinks he can get one.
Well,
So he's working on it.
I really like Doug.
Yeah. So they're literally trying to remove the end cap on the axle to, I think, remove the axle. But I don't know. They're not playing around.
I said I've hit a low. I said that when you get calm, like when you get really worked up and stressed, you get really quiet and calm.
I'm very calm.
Okay. Hey. Got good vibes out there. We're gonna make it. Watch the Progressive commercial. That's what she says. Okay.
Insurance cluster.
Yeah, I doubt that exists.
All right, we are irreparable tonight. So we are heading 2 miles up the road, or half mile up the road, to a boat dock where they're putting us up until we get our parts. This is how we're going down the line.
Okay, Brian, tell us what's going on.
I am driving 18 miles an hour.
The speed limit's 55.
The speed limit's 55 because we're
You're
on
going
the one.
19. Ooh,
I'm
don't.
going uphill.
Tell us about.
We're limping along on 3 tires because basically when the bearing blew, everything overheated and welded the nut onto the axle. So in order to get the nut off, basically everything was stripped. And we're trying to get a new axle.
Unfortunately, we have someone right behind us. Following us just to give us a hand here.
So this is our current situation. We're at Coastal Marine. Thank you, Bucky, who offered us the option of just showing up here and parking our RV until we can get it repaired, knowing good and well probably that this might take a little while. Michelle right now is taking pictures of our axle to send to a person whom we do not know. I don't know, Michelle, is that considered sexting?
So, his name is, I've got a lot of names. His name is Pat.
Pat
He's
in Akron, Ohio, which is a very far away from Trenton, Maine.
We're not in Trenton, Maine. We're near Camden.
Near Camden, Maine.
I don't know. I don't know. We're in Maine. So apparently, and I didn't see the video, the Shrags had a similar problem. And so we'll link the Shrags below in this video. They had a similar problem, and Joni from Those Who Glamp Together, who was like coming up with like what can we do to help them, because she's amazing. She went through the Shrags' video because she has internet and we did not.
And
we did not. We had one bar
and no
service.
We were in panic fix this mode.
Okay, so she said. She went through the Shrags' video because they didn't answer a message right away, and she was in panic, I know, trying to help me, which I adore. And so Pat just called and said that he needed more photos. So I'm getting ready to send him more photos, and he's going to make us an axle, and then we just have to figure out,
and then we have to
get how to get it here.
Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., he's going to make an axle.
It'll be done by noon. And then
we just have to figure out how to get the axle from there
to here. And
which is a 14-hour drive.
Or overnight shipping. I don't know. All I know is right now I'm sending him pictures, and then we're going to talk to Mike and Joni and kind of see what things are going on. The cats are restless. We've got Pete here that is fabulous. And we're going to go get some dinner because it's late. And
it's 7:30 and we haven't really eaten anything yet today. But here's our current situation. Yes, we have 110 power.
Yeah.
And we have water. And we have 3 tires on our trailer. And hey, here's the best reason for the E-Z Lift jacks. These jacks that we upgraded to.
We added these center jacks as well.
So these jacks are rated higher than the trailer jacks, and they will hold the weight of the trailer. Because let me tell you, that hub on our axle was about 4 inches off the ground when I drove it a mile to this location.
So we drove.
But right now our trailer is completely level thanks to these E-Z Lift jacks. So E-Z Lift, thank you. And Michelle was freaking out about that. And I said, look, if I have to replace 2 jacks at this point, it's just another icing on the cake.
I think it's legit to freak out about quite a few things at this point. I will say we were minutes from being on fire.
We probably were. So it's the next day. Things are a little calmer. A little more calm. Everyone has calmed down just a little bit. I don't think Desi ever was stressed out about it, to be honest with you. Michelle, how are you feeling this morning? How'd you sleep last night?
Is that what we're supposed to do at night? I'm supposed to sleep? All right, so here's where we're at. Like, this is... So, our friends Mike and Joni from Those Who Glamp Together said that they would pick up an axle that could be made in Ohio. We were ready at 7 a.m. to go drive, so that they had very little driving to do, because I really don't like inconveniencing them.
Well, and we were just sitting here anyway.
And yeah, we're just sitting here. So we were prepared to leave and drive, but I decided this morning before things opened up and before Brian woke up to start making phone calls for the tires. And one of the places I called, and it's Don, hold on, I just got off the phone with him, Don Fashnes. I'll put, there's what it is. Don Fichet's Discount Tires and Alignment. Called him this morning and asked if he had trailer tires, because that's, once we get the axle, the next part is that we have to get...
at minimum 1 tire
at minimum,
ideally 2.
And he had tires. So I explained to him what was going on. And he said, well, have you called On the Road? On the Road is a trailer dealer, not travel trailers, but they sell trailers. I said, well, I hadn't tried them. So I called On the Road, and they actually have axles. He had to wait until 8:30 till his parts guy came in to see if they had the right size. But he said, I need to know. And I said, oh, I know how to tell you all the things you need to know.
Michelle is now an axle expert. Dun, 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 dun,
I am an expert in sending photos about axles. And so I sent him all the photos. And while I was on the phone with him, then he said he needed to know how many bolts we had. And I said, well, I know that too. Here, let me send you a picture. And so he didn't know if they had the right size. He called me back and he said that we don't have the right size, but we can, we have one that's a little bit longer so we can weld it and
cut and sleeve it.
And of course, which then I said, well, just, you know, is that janky? Like, what does that mean? I now understand that that's a normal thing that people do.
It just means ka-ching.
It does mean more money. Let's not talk about money right now. Dang it, you went there, didn't you? Money's the hardest part in this whole thing for me because we've been doing so well with staying relatively close on budget. But of course, you guys all know it's 2021. There's a labor shortage, there's a parts shortage, there's an everything you could possibly think of shortage. I called one place yesterday and they said it would be 3 weeks before they could get an axle. But anyway, so they're cutting and sleeving. They're going to be done at noon. They're going to have the axle and the bearings and the brakes all together as one piece. And then the amazing people at East Coast Recovery and Towing, Doug, he said, well, I'm not far from them. I'll just go grab it. Go grab the axle. Okay, thank you. And I think they subscribed to our channel, so thank you, like, for everything yesterday. You were the calm, I think, in our storm. Brian learned a lot about everything yesterday as he was watching. So anyway, they're going to pick it up. It's going to take about an hour, of course, depending on what happens. So we don't know about that part of the story yet. And then I've called the guy who sent me to On the Road, and he has tires, and we can then leave here and go get tires on. And if all goes well, if all goes well, we get to make it to the super expensive campground that I booked that I haven't fully paid for yet, but is non-refundable deposit. But it's a beautiful ocean view. And
I might get a lobster roll for dinner tonight.
You might still get a lobster roll.
That would be wicked awesome.
It's only 9 a.m. It's only 9 a.m. The earliest we'll get there will be 6 p.m. So we'll see what the day brings.
Doug is here with our new axle. Apparently he is Michelle's knight on a white horse.
I appreciate it.
Here is the new axle. So we could not get an axle that was the right size, so they cut this one down and put a sleeve on it.
And thanks to Doug, we're going to know how to repack our wheel bearings, be able to check them, and prevent it in the future.
And thanks to Doug, so will all of you.
Yes!
Like stepping on the gas, or taking it real slow. Feels like I'm spinning down the middle, don't know which way to go. Oh no, feels like I'm spinning down the middle, don't know which way to go.
So then this dust cover that just comes off, keeps all the dirt and crap out of there. Just make sure there's grease right in here. And do you guys have a grease gun?
Yep.
Just goes right in there. Make sure there's plenty of grease in it.
So so the wheel bearings are where?
Inside of
that. Okay.
Yeah, not that we were having a hard time getting off yesterday. That's basically this piece right in here.
And so that silver cap in the middle
Pops off.
It was what was here. What now is a black cap?
No,
right?
it'll still be a silver cap.
Oh,
it'll still be the silver cap. Yeah.
Okay. So when you take off the other ones, we're gonna.
Yep, that's just a chrome decorative
I understand.
piece
Okay.
to cover that too.
To cover
it's just
that.
an extra protection, and then just make sure that's
So
cover it
that's
over.
all you do.
That's all
so
you
you
have-
take
really
that
have to
silver
do.
piece off, you take this piece off, and you make sure there's plenty of grease in there.
Yep, and just squirt it full of grease and, you know.
Do you know how complicated I thought this was until just
No.
this moment? I thought it involved like taking a tire off.
Back in the day, before they had all these fancy little bearing buddies and grease fittings that they put in there, you used to have to pull them all apart, take these buckets of grease and dip them in it, roll them in it, and pack it in and do all that. But now that they have these bearing buddies, you just make sure they're full of grease and they stay greased.
So that was the question. My dad texted me this morning and said, oh, where'd the text just go? He said, because I didn't even know, he said, this is what it is.
Yep.
So this is that. You don't have to take it off. It's okay.
all of that
all
inside
of that
there. That's
is,
just the cover that covers that. Yep.
I understand now. It doesn't make sense when it's not all together. That makes sense now.
Yep. So it just, that's the way
Wow.
they should all be. I haven't checked them all.
I know.
But,
I'm interested when you take off the other two, if there's any grease in there.
right?
Now it was, again, we had it apparently done.
That side looks like it's been done.
Okay.
So the back tire.
Yeah, like it's this year, it's this color on that other side.
Wow. So it really could have been this axle all along, or
Well, like it doesn't, this one doesn't look like it was done like that other side does if you look at it.
interesting.
Feels like I'm split down the middle. How can I tell which way to go? Oh no. Feels like I'm split down the middle. How can I tell which way to go? Feels like I'm split down the middle. How can I tell which way to go? I just don't know.
Spare tires on. We have about a half-hour drive.
Good old Castle Rocks back on.
About a half-hour drive to get up to the tire shop where they have 2 new tires waiting. So we're checking all the front tires just to make sure that we don't have the same problem.
All right.
But it looks like it's new. It's all greased.
I would put a little bit more grease in there.
So this front tire could use a little more grease. So we're going to do that just for peace of mind.
Well, with a spare tire on, I think we're moving. Oh, you saw it here first. The rig is a rolling with that spare. We got 15 miles to go before we head to Bar Harbor after tires.
27 hours later, we are back on the road on the way to Bar Harbor with a waypoint of Don Fichet's Discount Tires. Last stop on the way to Bar Harbor, Don Fichet's Discount Tires, where they happen to have 2 tires our size in stock, ready to go. So we're getting these 2 rear tires replaced. Woohoo!
We need to get them that spare tire.
All right, so it is 27 hours later, give or take.
I was gonna say.
Give or take a few minutes. And we are ready to be back on the road. We're here at Don Fichet Tires, where they are going to be putting 2 new rear tires on. I think I already said that.
They're gonna also be making sure, so the tires were hand torqued, so they're gonna make sure they're all torqued correctly, and we're gonna swipe the credit card one more time, maybe, I think, possibly for the last time.
Oh, good God, knock, 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 knock.
Knock on wood, knock on Brian's head, knock on mine. And then we got a 2-hour drive to Bar Harbor, Maine, where I think we're going to do a lot of processing of what just happened.
Where we will get this trip back on the road and back on schedule. So the next videos you'll probably be seeing will be Key West, because we're kind of throwing this in out of order. So if you're following us regularly, Key West is coming up.
And if you just found this because you haven't subscribed, our adventures often take weird turns. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Because you never know.
If you didn't like this video, we're still cruising with the Colemans.
We are still cruising with the Colemans. And if you've had a catastrophic moment, we want to hear about it in the comments. If you had an almost catastrophic moment like we did, we want to hear about it in the comments. If you learned something about packing wheel bearings, we want to hear about it because we want to know that this video has helped someone.
Yeah.
This is all about you all being able to learn from what we've done.
Terrible mistakes. Oh my.
Take an adventure with us.
It's been an
That's
adventure.
what it's all about.